When we indigenous awaken, or otherwise, do not resuscitate. In our new world order, no one will be allowed to be poor. You will be forcibly fed, clothed, lodged, taught, and employed, whether you like it or not. But if it is discovered that you have neither the character nor the industry to be worth all our trouble, you will be eliminated in a kindly or unkindly manner if you put up a fight. High-grade morons of the antisocial class. From a Greek word meaning foolish, moron was a term coined in 1920 by Henry Goddard, became a baseline criteria for a program of eugenics, the systematic sterilization of the intellectually dull, the socially inadequate, and the morally deficient. The high-grade defectives were the totally helpless, the ones who couldn't earn a living, the useless eaters. The first operation was carried out in 1920 at the Virginia State Colony for Epileptics and Feeble-Minded. After it was declared legal, 50,000 persons were sterilized in America, many believing they were having their appendix removed, many spending whole lives wondering why they could never have children. This program saved the U.S. billions of dollars and prevented it from becoming moronically imbalanced. There is no greater crime than to allow feeble-minded people to raise feeble-minded children in a feeble-minded environment. So the only question remains, are you a high-grade or a low-grade moron? Or are you simply asleep at the wheel? For sleep ever precedes tyranny. As great oaks from simple acorns grow, so the greatest tyrannies emerge from the most discreetly civilized beginnings. Since nomadic hunter-gathering tribes were first brought to heel forcibly in chains like dogs, put to work as slaves, building the first capitals of the first civilizations, subsequent civilizations have followed a very similar, distinct, if not particularly heartwarming pattern. From masters and slaves, the sword and the whip, to slave rebellion, stirred up, spurred on by some Spartacus Messiah, awakening an innate sensibility that maybe this is not how life should be lived. For a time, casting fear of consequences to the messianic wind, they demand liberty or death. A time of turbulence and compromised productivity, which compels the masters to reassess and revise their tactics. Having sufficient surplus of capital already in the bank, they decide to trickle some down, pay the slaves a wage, let them pay for their own food and shelter, which we will provide at a reasonable rate, reasonable profit margin. And we'll give them a day off, maybe 2 days. We'll call it a weekend. For a couple of days, they can be free as they like, get drunk, carouse. We'll provide all the drink and the entertainment at a reasonable rate, reasonable profit margin. All the trickling down will trickle back up, so long as they're back at work Monday morning. So for a time, those slaves feel like they're living in clover, till the clover clouds their minds. Too busy reveling in it, they take their eyes off the ball, develop a pliable willingness to trust in these leaders who seem to have led them to such an apparently pretty pass. Compliancy leads to complacency. Complacency leads to apathy. Apathy leads to dependence. Dependence leads back into slavery again. The masters have weathered the storm. That masterful ball has rolled right over them, and with every such victory, their righteous rule is reaffirmed, and their ability to one day put an end to popular weather forecasts altogether. Slavery by consent, the most efficient, expedient, and profitable kind. Approximate timeline for each civilization, 200 years. So it seems our time may be up. As anything remotely resembling a free people in this country, in this world for which America was once the guiding light, a beacon of hope, the first nation-state in human history to rapturously and legislatively proclaim that all men are created equal. The sovereign right in a sovereign nation for every individual to pursue life, liberty, and happiness on their own terms, regardless of race or religion or personal opinion or whatever cultural habits they may choose to practice, in the privacy of their own homes or communities, the right to speak and gather freely, to own their own property and defend it with their life, to take up arms against any sea of tyranny that threatens to wash over these rights. But that light has been dimmed, blurred, infected, infiltrated by a much darker flame. That light that seemed to come from above now comes from below, underground. Its kindlers operate in secret, in plain sight only to their initiated minions who have taken sacred oaths of fidelity to serve and protect their masters, themselves deeming the uninitiated masses a profane, unruly mob with no minds of their own, little more than animals, livestock to be branded, used, and disposed of as their masters see fit. Sheeple people to be led into their fold, lemmings to the edge of the cliff. One word from their masters, they will leap into the abyss, considering it a proud moment for humanity. Their civic and patriotic duty, self-sacrifice, key to their civilizations. They will burn us at the stake to save our souls, and we will gather up the kindling for our own conflagration. The people will be crushed under the burden of taxes. Loan after loan will be floated. After having drained the present, the state will devour the future. All we need is the right crisis. It is a simple matter to drag the people along into a war. All you have to do is tell them they are being attacked, and demonize peacemakers for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. The one thing every man and woman fears is the unknown, when presented with a scenario of an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that threatens their whole existence. Then all the world will plead to be delivered from this evil. People will accept any lie, so long as it's big enough they themselves would feel ashamed of telling it. Success is the sole judge of right and wrong. They are the pirates of this world, and they will forsake no amount of rape, pillage, and slaughter to ensure the triumph of their will. It is our job to give people not what they want, but what we decide they ought to have. Order out of chaos. Motto of the Master Masons on the back of your soon-to-be disappearing dollar bills. ourselves. We're being led by the nose in plain sight by hidden hands, orchestrating misguiding applications of words, images, and ideals that seem to imply there is a benevolent force at work to save us from ourselves. The one thing wrong in this country: everybody gets a chance to have their fair say. By the next century, nations will become obsolete. All states will recognize a single global authority. National sovereignty wasn't such a great idea after all. The three pillars of the New World Order: the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Trade Organization. Tyranny so carefully and treacherously disguised. Capitalism, socialism, communism, liberalism. If we but unite in one of these isms, no telling what we can achieve together. The only ism they believe in is totalitarianism, the power of their estate to rule the world with their very particular brand of dogmatism, fascism, call it what you will. They have undermined the human spirit with mere hope of some free handout, disarming us to the mercy of their military protectionism. We no longer trust in our own mind and hearts to take care of our own bodies ourselves. They could hire half the world to kill the other half. They are the law unto themselves. We need to get down on our knees, or at least one knee, a definitive Masonic gesture of submission, co-opted for every activity that wants their funding and begs for help from these illuminated ones, who never show their face, just their masks on their puppets, the visibly proclaimed leaders of the world, not pulling the strings, just ensuring the strings are tied in a noose wherever appropriate. The ones who deliver the lies and the deceptions, willing or unwilling servants, duly rewarded for their human treacheries. Do your own homework, folks. No skull and bones about it. It is secrecy that rules this world, deception, deceit, and treachery. And I may be sealing my own fate simply by saying this, and if that's not evidence enough for me, the simple awareness that I may be summarily dispatched for simply speaking my mind freely, rocking their pirates' Jolly Roger. They know who I am, they know where I live, they know who you are, where you live, what you do in your spare time. If you have too much time to spare, where you shop, what you buy, what you don't buy, what you eat, what you drink, what you could or should be doing when you're not. They got your product code. You're carrying it around with you 24/7 if you haven't already had it implanted. They know where you keep your money, and most of it is not in your wallet. And if they decide you don't deserve to have it, they can make it disappear in the blink of an eye. As easy as waving a magic wand. Fingertip control at any time. Should you put a foot wrong or in the wrong mouth, they can bite your head off and vanish it into cyberspace. Wizards at the helm, magicians, tricksters, kabbalistas, brotherhoods of death, sisterhoods of understanding that there is no God but the light of their own minds. They are the gods who will rule this world at any cost. Success is the sole proof of righteousness of their rule. Don't need to see no horns and forked tails to know the devil's. You either believe it or you don't. I speak to you from my grave. And believe me, I wasn't killed by kindness. R.I.P. Bill Cooper.